Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Impact Academy. Today, let us look at the Mauryan Empire. Okay, so let us start with the Mauryan Empire today. So, before we go to the Mauryan Empire, I would like to just show you a timeline of ancient Indian history. So that you will get an idea where it stands, which dynasty comes after which dynasty. So this you can see the Paleolithic age, etc., Mesolithic, Neolithic. You can see the years and all. So we have the Iron Age, Indus Valley Civilization. We have seen in the Indus Valley Civilization video. Then ancient period, approximately you could say, starts from the Indus Valley Civilization. Okay, for all practical purposes, the Indus Valley Civilization is starting of the ancient from the history point of view for the examination. It is followed by the Vedic period. Okay, so Indus Valley civilization is more like a city. It's not a rural setup. It's a city setup. So there was these large citadels. You have the ruling class. You have the peasants, and there was brisk trade. You could see when we'll go to the Indus Valley civilization, you will see everything. So when the Indus Valley civilization declined during the 1700 BC, what happened was people started disintegrating and they went back to the rural lifestyle. So Indus Valley civilization was a city lifestyle. From there, they went back to the Vedic period. It is further classified as um, pre-Vedic period and early Vedic period and later Vedic period. So in the early Vedic period, you have different kind of features, characteristics. For example, women had a better position, and they were mostly pastoral in nature. That is, they have this cattle, grazing of cattle, etc. And agriculture was just getting started. And in the later Vedic age, slowly the position of women starts declining, and the caste system, the Varna system becomes more and more rigid, etc. We'll look into that in depth in the Vedic lecture. So, uh, the main point here is from Indus Valley civilization, immediately it was the Vedic period. It was the rural lifestyle. Again, from the rural lifestyle, it's slowly people start getting, they become Janapadas. So they start congregating more, and Janapadas become Mahajanapadas. And after they become Mahajanapadas, then the first major large empire in North India is the Magadha Empire. So, uh, see, from the Indus Valley civilization, it has slowly gone back to the rural and again slowly started building up. And by the time of Magadha, you have a very large empire. So after Magadha Empire, so all that comes in this pre-Mauryan age. So after Magadha Empire, and it is around the 6th century BC that invention of iron has taken place. That is one key point which you have to remember. See, Indus Valley civilization is the it's a Chalcolithic age. Usage of copper was there, bronze was there, etc. But there was no iron. Iron was invented only in the 6th century, around 6th century, 5th century. Same the period where we have Buddhism, Jainism, etc. And it was one of the reason for building of great empires, because when you have iron tools, you can increase your iron flow will result in more agriculture, and you have iron access, you can bring down large forests and bring it under agriculture. Excuse me. So with the invention of the iron, these large empires started coming into it. So after the disintegration of Magadha Empire, then we have what is called the Maurya Empire. Maurya Empire is one of the prominent empire. Okay, and everybody is well aware of Ashoka. So Ashoka is one of the greatest king of the Maurya Empire itself. So from the exam point of view, let us look at the political history. Okay, who comes after whom, who is the founder, who is the greatest king, what are their contributions, and let us look at art and architecture, society, etc. Okay, so after Maurya age, you have the Gupta period. I'm just trying to give you a timeline. So Gupta period is also considered as the classical age of Indian subcontinent, because it was during the Gupta period that you see the temple architecture, the literature, music, sciences, medicine, etc. Everything has reached its peak. And after Gupta Empire, the age of the Harsha Empire. Okay, Harsha Empire is usually said as the last great Hindu empire, because after Harsha Empire, you do not have a big Hindu empire. This Chalukyas of Badami, Pallavas, etc., there are more or less in the South India. And slowly it was around the 7th century. Okay, so it was around this period that we started having invasions. from the Arab area. First one is the Muhammad bin Qasim. He captures the Sindh region, and then it is followed by Muhammad Ghazni, Gori. Everyone is aware of this. And then in the 11th, 12th century, we have the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate. So this is the brief timeline of the ancient history. Just you have to remember, Indus Valley civilization is followed by the Vedic period, is followed by the pre-Maurya, Mauryan period, post-Mauryan period. Okay, post-Mauryan period you have the Satavahanas, etc., etc., and then you have the Gupta period, and then followed by the Harsha period. Fine. So now you have an idea where exactly the Mauryan Empire is coming in the ancient history. So now let us go into the Mauryan Empire. So as you can see, all this Mauryan Empire is something which we read very frequently during school. So you will be remembering all these things. You see, this is our this is the Sanchi Stupa, and these are the Ashokan pillars. Okay, all these are the Ashoka pillars. Okay, even now our emblem, recently our new parliament building has been unveiled, and you have seen the emblem, right? So this is the emblem. Okay, and all these things, so many questions are asked based on these artifacts itself. For example, you see this a bull, a horse, and you see the dharma chakra. Okay, and this is a abacus, and this goes on a shaft, and you have animals, and so all these things are asked. And also you have Satyameva Jayate, which is inscribed there, which is from the Mundaka Upanishad. Okay, all this you will come to know better when you start answering the question and answers. So this session will be followed by the practice questions, the previous year questions and other practice questions. If you solve those questions, you will get a better idea of what kind of questions are being asked. Okay, and this is the Sanchi Stupa. Okay, I think everyone is well aware. So let's move forward. So if you look at the extent of the Mauryan Empire, okay, so all this, the current day India, followed by this what is Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, etc., etc. All this is also part of India, and here Bangladesh, Myanmar, etc. And you see almost south, more or less everything is the whole India for a brief period was under the occupation of the. I mean, it was under the Mauryan dynasty. And one important thing is the Mauryan dynasty is immediately followed. It follows the invasion of Alexander. Okay, it will come later in the, but it's very important to remember that when Alexander tried to invade India, he came until the doorstep of India, but then his army refused to move further. Everyone is well aware of the story. He defeated King Porus and etc. And at that time, it was the Nanda Empire. Nanda Empire belongs to the Magadha Empire, as we already seen, Magadha Empire, and then after the disintegration of the Magadha Empire, we have the Mauryan Empire. So Dhanananda was the ruler. He was the king at that time. He was the last Nanda ruler, and because Alexander's army had already heard about Dhanananda, is a very powerful king and having a large army, and they are already tasted. I mean, they were not defeated, but they had faced very stiff competition from Porus itself. He's also called as Purushottoman. So their idea was, if such a small local king was able to give such stiff resistance, just imagine what kind of war it would be when we go and face the Nanda Empire. So the Alexander's army had backtracked, and after that, Dhanananda was deposed by Chandragupta Maurya, and the Maurya dynasty was formed. We'll look into it in detail. So this is very important. And when we look at the Magadha and the Mahajanapadas, then you will see all these important places. Okay, what are the 16 Mahajanapadas, etc. So after crossing all that, then we come to the Magadha Empire. So here is a you can see before the Maurya Empire. So this is the Maurya dynasty. Before the Maurya dynasty, you have the Magadha dynasty. Okay, this Haryanka dynasty, Shishunaga dynasty. Okay, and followed by Nanda dynasty. And these are the prominent Magadha rulers: Bimbisara, Ajatasattu, Udayin. Okay, this will look at in depth in the Magadha Empire lecture. So today let us focus on Maurya Empire. And then, as I said, the Nanda dynasty is the last dynasty of the Magadha Empire. We have Mahapadma Nanda, who is the founder, and the last important ruler is Dhanananda. So when Alexander came to India, Dhanananda was the king who was there, and he was deposed by Chandragupta Maurya. Okay. Now, if you look at the Maurya dynasty, okay, I don't know if you can see it clearly. Okay, okay. These are just important points. We'll cover everything in detail further. So in Maurya dynasty, which is followed by the Magadha Empire, Chandragupta Maurya is the founder. Okay. Under the guidance of Kautilya, also known as Chanakya, he defeated Dhanananda and he occupied Patliputra. Patliputra is in the current days Patna, Bihar, that region. It is a prominent capital during Mauryas and Guptas and during the Magadha Empire. It's a very prominent center. It has played a role of capital for many empires. And he united whole North India for the first time. You could say Chandragupta Maurya united the whole North India for the first time. He defeated Alexander's governor Seleucus Nicator. So when Alexander went back, he put Seleucus Nicator as the governor of this region. So after Chandragupta Maurya had taken over the Maurya, I mean the North India, he even went to the Northwest India and defeated Seleucus Nicator also, and he married his daughter Helena, and he also gave 500 elephants to Seleucus Nicator. All that we'll see in Magadha, in Maurya Empire itself, and it is a continuation of Magadha Empire. And Chandragupta Maurya is followed by Bindusara. So we'll look into depth about this is just a mind map. So he is known as Amytrochates in the Greek texts. Okay, frequently there are questions asked like who is known as Amytrochates? He is Bindusara. So Bindusara is the son of Chandragupta, and he is the contemporary of Antiochus I of Syria. Okay, so he patronized Ajivikas. So one important thing about Chandragupta Maurya was he adopted Jainism. He adopted Jainism at the last stage of his what you say his empire. When he gave up, he gave his throne to Bindusara. He had adopted Jainism and he went to Shravanabelgola, which is in today's current today's Karnataka. And there he had taken Salekana. Salekana is a process in Jainism where they stop eating gradually and you attain moksha. So this from the exam point of view, this is very important. Chandragupta Maurya had adopted Jainism. Okay, Bindusara is followed by Ashoka. Ashoka the Great. Everyone is known. He is considered as the greatest king of the uh, Mauryan Empire. Now he added Kalinga into Magadha Empire. So when Ashoka had come to the throne, there was nothing left. By that time, Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusara, they had almost occupied whole of the northern and the Deccan region. Only the Kalinga region is current day Orissa. Only that region was left. So Ashoka occupied that region, and it was in that war itself. There was a lot of bloodshed, and later on, Ashoka had converted into Buddhism. People say that because of the bloodshed, etc., which he had seen, he had taken up Buddhism, and some sources say that he was already Buddhist by then. So, anyway, he has taken up Buddhism, and later on, he has replaced the conquest of war with conquest of Dhamma. Dhamma means righteousness. So, rather than going to war, he wanted to spread the principles of Buddhism. Okay, there has to be peace, tolerance, respect to elders, etc., etc. So he became a Buddhist after Kalinga War, and some people say he was a Buddhist by then. But anyway, it is usually considered that after the Kalinga War, he became a Buddhist. He replaced physical conquest with cultural conquest. That is Berigosha with Dhammagosha. Berigosha means when you beat the drums of war. That is called Berigosha. Dhammagosha is through scriptures, through peaceful ways. Fine. So this is just a mind map. So let us go into in depth of what is the Mauryan Empire. So if you look here, this is just important again a map. So Chandragupta Maurya is the founder of the Mauryan Empire. His wife is Durdara, and when he defeated Seleucus Nicator, he married his daughter Helena. And Bindusara, okay, Bindusara was the son of Chandragupta Maurya. And Bindusara's sons used in Sushima, Ashoka, with Ashoka, etc. So Ashoka went for a war of succession. He killed his elders. He left his younger brother, and he became the king. And these Mahinda, Kunala, Tivala, etc. are Ashoka's successors, and his grandson is Samprati. So usually this question is asked: who is the grandson of Ashoka? Samprati. So you have to remember these things. The order, the political history: Chandragupta Maurya, followed by Bindusara, followed by Ashoka, followed by his grandson Samprati. Okay, so let's move forward. So here you can see some basics. So the Mauryan Empire was founded by Chandragupta Maurya, okay, in around 322 BC. These are all important points you have to remember. And it has more or less occupied much of North India and Deccan. And when Ashoka came, he occupied the Kalinga region also. And this is the what is the genealogy? Chandragupta Maurya from 322. That is important. He's followed by Bindusara, followed by Ashoka and Dasharatha, Samprati, and other later, which is not very important from exam point of view. So till at least Samprati, if you remember, that is important. And last important one is Brihadratha. So this is frequently asked again. Brihadratha and 180 BCE. Remember, this is before the Common Era. So this is frequently asked again. Brihadratha is the last Mauryan Empire, okay, and he is killed by Pushyamitra Sunga, because Pushyamitra Sunga was a Brahmin and he is a follower of the Vedic religion, and the Maurya dynasty had become Buddhist by then. So in order to establish the Vedic religion back, and Brihadratha was not a very competent ruler. He was a very incompetent ruler. So his general Pushyamitra Sunga, he deposed Brihadratha, killed him, and he established the Pushyamitra Shunga, I mean the Shunga dynasty. Okay, this is very important from exam point of view. Frequently asked Brihadratha. So now let us look at the important points in the political history of the Mauryas. Okay. So Chandragupta Maurya, he was the founder of the Mauryan dynasty. Everyone has to remember. And according to Brahmanical traditions, he was born of a Shudra origin. Okay. But as per Buddhist tradition, he's a Kshatriya clan called Maursi. You have to understand, the Mauryas have taken up Buddhism. I mean, Chandragupta Maurya had taken up Jainism, and Ashoka had become a Buddhist. So the Buddhist text and the Jainist text say they give higher status to the Mauryas. Because they wanted to elevate their position because they are patrons. But the Vedic religion, they are not a patrons of Vedic religion. So they always portray as a that the Mauryas were actually belong to a Shudra caste. They say that the Maurya is a Shudra clan, and there is another version which says that the Mauryas, the place in which they belong, contains a lot of peacocks, and peacocks are called as Mauryas. So more. So that is how the name Maurya has come. So there are three theories: the Vedic religion, the Vedic religion, I mean the Vedic scriptures, etc. They say that the Mauryas are of Shudra origins, which is basically from lower origin, and the Buddhist texts, the Deepavamsa, Mahavamsa, etc., they say that the Mauryas are from a Kshatriya clan called as Sakya Kshatriya clan. So they are trying to elevate the position of the Mauryas. And also there is another theory which says that the area from where they have come is full of peacocks. More so, they are Mauryas. That is one thing which you have to keep in mind. The origin theories of the Mauryas, and also we will look at other from sources. So he took the advantage of decline and weakness of the Nanda Empire. Okay, we have already seen the last Nanda Empire, Dhanananda, with the help of Kautilya or Chanakya. He deposed the last emperor Dhanananda, and he has established Maurya dynasty. Okay. So the northwestern India was under Seleucus Nicator. He defeated Seleucus Nicator and liberated Afghanistan, Baluchistan, etc. And in return, he gave 500 elephants also. Okay, he married his daughter Helena, and he also gave 500 elephants. So he brought a vast region under the Mauryan Empire, which included Bihar, the Patliputra was the capital, Orissa, Bengal, etc., etc. Basically, the whole northern India was brought under the Mauryan Empire. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, etc. These extreme northeast and southern parts were not under the Mauryan Empire. Everything else was under the Mauryan Empire. And he was an autocrat who kept all powers in his hands. So it was a centralized administration system. So most striking was the huge army. You see, from the Indus Valley civilization, there wasn't any army or anything. Later on, it was only during the Magadha Empire that we see this concept of empires and armies. So by the time it has reached the Mauryan Empire, there was a huge army. Okay, according to Pliny, he is a Roman writer. Chandragupta had how many? 600,000 soldiers, 30,000 cavalry, and 9,000 elephants. See, elephants play a very important role. Even when Alexander came to India, it is this elephants, the use of elephants in war was something which they had not faced before. When they were coming through this Persian region, it was only desert area, horses, etc. So this tropical climate and the use of elephants confused them, and they were afraid to further go into the Indian subcontinent. So during the Chandragupta Maurya period, you can see he had conquered much of North India. Okay, so Bindusara, Chandragupta Maurya is followed by Bindusara. So Bindusara, there was a story that Kautilya, no Kautilya Chanakya, he used to poison his enemies. He was very expert of poisons. So he used to give little bit of poison to Chandragupta Maurya also, little bit so that no other enemy can poison him. And not being aware of that, Chandragupta Maurya was once sitting with his wife having food and sharing his food with his wife. So Chandragupta Maurya is kind of immune to the poison, but his wife was not. So when she started sharing his food, she was pregnant by then, and she started feeling the effects of the poison. So immediately the doctors, everyone was called, and they realized what happened, and they literally cut open her womb and brought Bindusara out. So Bindu means a drop of poison. So he was born because of the drop of poison. So he is called Bindusara. It's just a story. It will, if it helps you remember, it is fine. So that is about Bindusara. So Chandragupta Maurya was succeeded by his son Bindusara. You have to remember the political history and the achievements or the important key points of each of these rulers. So the Greeks called him Amitrochates. That is also very important, which means the slayer of enemies. So he was also very militarily successful. He extended the Mauryan Empire as far as south, okay, and all the 16 states were brought under the empire. We have already seen about the Mahajanapadas. So the Magadha Empire was also successful in conquering most of the Mahajanapadas, and by the time it was the Mauryas, they had brought all the territory under their control. So only Kalinga region was left. Okay, only Kalinga region was left out, and that was later occupied by Ashoka. Okay, his reign was important for the continued link with Greeks. See, there was brisk trade with the Greeks, and Kautilya continued as the prime minister during his period also. So this you can see during the Bindusara region, he had further occupied the Deccan region also. Only the Kalinga region was left, which is later captured by Ashoka. So Ashoka is very, very important. He is called Ashoka the Great. So anything related to Ashoka is very important. So he is considered the greatest ruler of the Mauryan Empire, and he was the son of Bindusara. And he was the first ruler who took messages to the people through his inscriptions. Okay, you see the pillar inscriptions, rock edicts, etc. So because Ashoka decided that no war and only through Dhamma, through a practice of peaceful, he relied more on inscriptions. He gave many inscriptions. The Ashoka pillar edicts, rock edicts, all these are very important. Even from exam point of view, you have to remember in which rock edict what information is given, like rock edict 7, 13, etc. We'll look into it. So Kalinga War was the only war because by that time much of almost all of it has been captured. Only Kalinga was left, and Ashoka captured Kalinga, and he was moved by the massacre of the Kalinga War, and he gave up the idea of Berigosha and replaced with Dhammagosha. So he converted to Buddhism. Okay, the Buddhist councils are also very important. First Buddhist council, second, third, fourth, where it happened, which year, who was the emperor, and who was the Buddhist, who was from the Buddhist side, who was the Buddhist monk who had presided over. All these are very important. The Buddhist councils, and he also sent missionaries to Sri Lanka, Burma, etc. all over, and that's why even today you see Sri Lanka and Burma, etc. Buddhism is quite famous. So he even sent his daughter also. to spread Buddhism in rest of the world. Okay, he was known mainly for his missionary work also because he only one war, the Kalinga War, and within that he realized and shifted to Dhammakosha, Ashoka's law of Dhamma. That is also frequently asked in mains also. What is the Ashoka's law of Dhamma? So is a broad dhamma was a broad concept which covered the way of life. Basically, tolerance. You have to be tolerant. You have to be considerate towards elders, slaves, etc., and no violence, etc. And because of these things, India even back then was a very heterogeneous community. You had various different any direction you go, the culture keeps changing. So such a heterogeneous empire, if you want to keep it together, you cannot go by the traditional method. So Ashoka followed this concept of tolerance, dhamma, etc., so that people from different creed and faith can live together. So he followed a religious tolerant policy also. You can follow Buddhism, Vedic religion, or Jainism, whatever you want. And he was known for his policy of peace, etc. So by the time of Ashoka, he had captured much of India. So let us go forward. And Ashoka's inscriptions are also very important. From the exam point of view, these are very frequently asked. Okay, it was see, there are about 39 inscriptions. Okay, major rock edicts, minor rock edicts, pillar edicts. You have seen in the first page, minor pillar edicts. Okay, the name Ashoka appears only in the copies of minor rock edict 1. Okay, and other places it was found as Devanampiya Piyadasi. So, and it is the first time you could see in the history that the king started associating themselves with God. So he's saying Devanampiya means the is a priya devotee of the God, like that. So the kings are showing some kind of divine connection. That if you are born as a king, that means you have some divinity along with you. You are connected to. So that idea of kings being of royal blood, being about something having to do with God also, that started during Ashoka, you could say. And all these things just wrote to see. This is important. Devanampiya Pidasi, which means dare to gods. So by the time you're saying that if you are basically born as a king, you are dare to gods also. That is why you are born like that. These inscriptions were found in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, India. Okay, they were mostly placed on the ancient highways. Fine. So let us look further. The inscriptions found in the Indian subcontinent were mostly written in. This is important again from the point of view exam. The script, it was Prakrit. Okay, it was written in Prakrit using Brahmi script. Okay, so the script is Brahmi and the language is Prakrit. And in the northwestern part of it is called Kharoshthi. Okay, see, in the northwestern part, Aramaic language is used and the script is Kharoshthi. These are very important from exam point of view. In the Indian continent, he used Prakrit language with Brahmi script. In the northwestern part, that means Afghanistan, etc., etc., he used Aramaic language with Kharoshthi script. That is frequently asked. Literary sources is very important. So we are talking so much about the Mauryan Empire, but where did we get this information? So first and foremost important thing is Arthashastra. Arthashastra, everyone knows, was written by Kautilya in Sanskrit. So we have seen for the common, he used Prakrit language with Brahmi script, but Arthashastra was written by Kautilya, who was a Brahmin, so he has written in Sanskrit. So he was the contemporary of Chandragupta Maurya, and it deals with the entire legal and bureaucratic framework. It was compiled a few centuries after the Mauryan rule. It contains authentic information about the Mauryan administration. So it contains 15 books and 180 chapters. So Arthashastra is frequently asked in exam. How many books, how many chapters, what it contains, what all it is. So fine. So Arthashastra deals with the part 1, king and his council. Part 2 is civil and criminal law. And part 3 is diplomacy and war. And see, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishaka Datta. It's also in Sanskrit. It's very important. Okay, it belongs to the Gupta era. That means later on. And it gives a image of the socio-economic conditions and the victory of the Chandragupta Maurya over Nandas is also elaborated in this. So, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishaka Datta is also very important. You have to remember this. So, how do we know about the Mauryas? One is Arthashastra by Kautilya. Next, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishaka Datta and Megasthenes Indica. So, Megasthenes was the foreign traveler who visited Indica at that time, India at that time, and he had written the book called Indica. Okay, he had written a book called Indica. So this is very important. He was a Greek ambassador who was sent by Seleucus Nicator to Chandragupta Maurya's court. So Megasthenes Indica, Mudra Rakshasa by Vishakadatta, and you have Kautilya's Ardhashastra. Fine. So let's go forward. And also, apart from this, the Buddhist literature, which is called the Deepa Vamsha, Mahavamsha, etc., they also give a lot of information about the Mauryan Empire. And the Puranas, Matsya Purana, Vayu Purana, they also give details about the Mauryan Empire. But they are little, what you say, they are not being authorized properly because they are little cumbersome. Anyway, so these are the sources from which we can find out about the Mauryan Empire. So we have already seen the Mauryan Empire, Chandragupta Maurya, it was founded, followed by Bindusara, Ashoka, etc. So how did the decline take place? So if you look at the decline, the major reasons are Brahmanical reaction. So they adopted Buddhism, Jainism, etc. And even though there was religious tolerance, he was against the practice of killing animals, birds, etc. and prohibited superstitious sacrifice. So basically, it was against the Brahmanical Vedic religion, and so the Brahmin community was against, and they held always they always hold key positions, and so when you go against the Brahmanical community, obviously there is going to be some backlash, especially for a king and financial crisis because there is no conquest by war. When there is no war, you don't have what you call the booty from war. When you go to war, you after defeating the empire, you take all their wealth, etc. When that is reduced, obviously there is going to be reduction in your treasury. So that is one reason. And oppressive rule. Okay, during the reign of Bindusara, people of Takshila complained about the misrule of the wicked bureaucrats. So Takshila is in current day Afghanistan in that northwestern region. It's very famous for the what you say the Takshila University. Okay, even Kautilya Chanakya was from Takshila University, and Ashoka before becoming the emperor, he worked as the governor of Takshila. That's also very important. Fine. So even see, this was sorted by appointing Ashoka. So even after Ashoka was appointed, it continued. So that is one reason. And spread of new knowledge. Okay. So spread of new knowledge, as in the invention of iron and see as a result of expansion of the Mauryan Empire, the knowledge of the material advantages, etc. And the Gangetic Basin, which was the heart of the empire, lost its special advantage. New kingdoms such as Shungas, Kanvas, Chetis were founded and expanded on the basis of material knowledge gained from the Magadhas. So the invention of iron, which helped Magadha become a big empire, now that knowledge spread to all other parts of the subcontinent, and everyone was able to establish themselves. So neglect of the northwestern frontier. So we all know about the Khyber Pass, the northwestern frontier. If you see the Indian map, it is covered with the Himalayas in the north and all three sides from the oceans. So only that northwestern region, the Khyber Pass, was the region where all the invasions had taken place. So even Alexander came through that, but in spite of repeated invasions, no one had taken any initiative to build a wall or to build some sort of fortification there. So neglect of the northwestern frontier also played a very important role. So the Greeks invaded North Afghanistan and set up an empire known as the Bactrian Empire. Okay, and they were the first to invade, which were already seen during Alexander. And there was a series of invasion. If you look in the later time, even during the Delhi Sultanate and before, Mir Qasim, Muhammad Ghazni, Muhammad Ghori, they all came through this northwestern frontier. So proper precautions were not taken. Next, as we have shown, the last ruler was Brihadrata. The last Mauryan ruler was Brihadrata, and he was defeated by Pushyamitra Sunga. Okay, he was defeated by Pushyamitra Sunga. He is the Brahmin general, and he established the Shunga dynasty and led to the Brahmanical way of life. Basically, he re-established the Vedic religion. By the time we have seen, it was all Buddhist religion. Now it was back to the Vedic religion during the Pushyamitra Sunga. So another important thing is the art and architecture of the Mauryan Empire, which is very important. So after Ashoka embraced Buddhism, okay, you can see a lot of Buddhist influence from the art and architecture also. He also patronized the Shraman tradition in the 3rd century, which refers to several Indian. Fine. So, the Shaman tradition refers to Indian religious movements parallel but not separate from the Vedic religion, like Buddhism, Jainism. Actually, at that time, if you look at the Buddhism, Jainism chapter in the introduction, we will see at that time there have been more than 50 or 60 new religions. So, out of that, only the Buddhism and Jainism have become more prominent, and there are various reasons for that. And even Ajivakas is one such sect, the Charvakas, etc. So this is one of the reason. Ashoka patronized this, he was against this Brahmanical domination, and he wanted to give support to other. He embraced Buddhism. Okay, Chandragupta Maurya embraced Jainism. Ashoka embraced Buddhism. Okay, so we've already seen this how Chandragupta Maurya had attacked Dhanananda. Dhanananda was the last ruler of the Nanda Empire, and he had taken out. He has established a Mauryan Empire, and the Mauryan Empire was the first most powerful Indian empire to bring the entire subcontinent under a single rule. We've already seen how later Bindusara conquered much of Deccan also, and only Kalinga region was left, and Ashoka had conquered Kalinga also. So expansion of Mauryan Empire, we've seen his son Bindusara in 298, he expanded the kingdom to present day except Kalinga. And under Ashoka, even Kalinga was taken over. So coming back to the art and architecture, see this is very important. The Mauryan art and architecture is divided briefly into court art and popular art. Very important, remember, court art and popular art. Court art means basically the official palaces, the pillars which we've seen before, the stupas, etc., the Buddhist stupas which have been built, and Chandragupta Maurya's palace is also quite famous. If you look at Megasthenes, he describes how it's one of the wonders of the world. Huge wooden pillars and etc. etc. It's very prominent. So stupas. So Buddhism we see stupas very famous. Stupa is basically the burial mounds, and the chaityas and viharas and chaityas they are the resting and the prayer halls, etc. So stupas are erected when one prominent Buddhist guru dies, or even on the top of Buddha's relics. So in Sanchi Stupa, Barhut Stupa, etc. These are some of the prominent stupas which we'll see later. So all this comes under court art or the official art. Then comes the popular art or the individual art. In that we have these caves. See, as I said before, these huge temples. It was during the Gupta period that these huge temples have, and in the south you see the Pallava architecture, etc. So initially, it was the cave architecture. Even now, if you go to Ajanta and Ellora, except the Lomas Rishi cave, the Ajanta caves, Ellora caves, it was all cave architecture. So the cave architecture has become very prominent during the Mauryan rule, and the pottery. We will also see the photos of the pottery. See, remember this. Um, when you say pottery, when you say Mauryas, it has to be the northern black polished ware. It is frequently asked in questions also. NBPW, northern black polished ware. And Kushans. Kushans are famous for the red ware. So you will see the photos also. In this case, it is completely black. The pottery which they use it is black polished ware, which we will see. And the sculptures. Okay, these are popular art, and the palaces, pillars, etc. The edicts, national emblem which we have, which we've already seen. All those things are court art or official art. So that is the brief uh, description. And when you see more the court art, it is the pillars, stupas, palaces, etc. And Greek historian Megasthenes described the palace of Maurya as one of the greatest creations of mankind. So it was that great and as a God-gifted monument. And you can see that there is Persian influence also. Okay, the palace of Chandragupta was inspired with the Achaemenid palaces at Persepolis in Iran. So even in Iran, we had the Persian Empire, and those palaces were also considered very magnificent. They had a very extreme decorations, and it was what you say, as he had mentioned, God gifted monuments. So they were so great. And here, the Mauryan palaces were also equal in that extravagance. Okay, material wood was used, and you have in the Patliputra, okay, Ashoka's palace at Kumrahar, and Chandragupta Maurya's palace. Okay, these things you have to remember. So if you look at the pillars, Ashoka's pillars are very famous, and they are made of Chunar sandstone. Keep that in mind. Okay, during the Delhi Sultanate and all, we have seen red sandstone, and later on in Shah Jahan, Mughals, we have seen white marble and red sandstone, etc. So here in Ashoka period and in the Mauryan period in general, Chunar sandstone was used. Okay, and the main objective was to disseminate the Buddhist ideology and court orders. And language we have already seen Prakrit and Pali. Buddhists mostly use Pali language, and the general population use Prakrit. And also the northwestern area we have seen Aramaic language, and the script was Kharoshthi script. Here in Prakrit, the script was Brahmi script. So if you look at the architecture, Mauryan pillars mainly comprise of this. Again, is important, a shaft. Okay, there is a long shaft. We have already seen in the first page, and the shaft, on top of the shaft there is a capital. Okay, which is either lotus shape or bell shape. On top of that you have a abacus. Above the capital there was a circular or rectangle base known as abacus, and a capital figure. All the capital figures usually are like bull, lion, elephant, etc. They are carved on a square circular abacus. Next. So similarities between Persian and Achaemenid pillars, you can just see the polished stones, proclamations, etc., etc. So this is one of that, what you say, see, one of the pillar. You can see the abacus, and the shaft will be below that, and the animal. This is the bull. Okay, this is one of the specimen of the Mauryan art, and you can see the capital figure, the shape and ornamentation. You can just pause here and go through what are the similarities. Okay. So unlike the Mauryan shafts, which are built of monoliths, okay, the Mauryans are single piece of stone. The Persian shafts were built of different pieces of stones. Fine. So Ashoka's pillars and edicts and inscriptions. This also you have to remember a few things. Okay, what pillar edict one says, pillar edict two says. If you can't remember everything, at least one or two things. Most important. See, here you have pillar edict six Dhamma policy. So that is important. Protection from people. So just go through these pillar edicts and try to remember as much as possible. And Rumindale pillar inscription. Here you have to remember that when Ashoka visited Lumbini, which is the birthplace of Buddha, and he exempted Lumbini from tax. That is mentioned in the Rumindale pillar inscription. Keep that in mind. It's important. Rumindale pillar inscription. Ashoka exempted Lumbini from tax. And Negalisegar pillar inscription in Nepal. Ashoka increased the height of the stupa. So, if you look at the major pillar inscriptions, these are again important. You have to remember these things. Okay, Sarnath line capital, Vaishali pillar in Bihar, Sankissa pillar, and etc. Allahabad pillar. Sarnath line capital is very important. It was near Varanasi, was built by Ashoka in commemoration of the Dhamma Chakra Pravartana of the first sermon of Buddha. So when you go to Buddhism in that lecture, you will see all these things. Where Buddha was born, what is the symbol, where he got enlightened nirvana, where he had given his first sermon, and where he had died. Okay, Kushinagara, Lumbini, Gaya, etc. All these things will come in Buddhism. They are also very important. So this is a stupa. So just look at the stupa, and it is asked frequently. You have a see, you have an ambulatory passage, and toranas, stairways, toranas again, chakras. So just look at this, study it. Sometimes it is asked frequently. Describe about the stupa architecture. Then based on these things, you can easily, there is an ambulatory passageway for people to go around, and inside it contains the relics of Buddha, etc. So these are all just you can go through. You can pause and go through how much ever you can remember, because not very frequently asked in the exam. And material used was burn brick. Okay, examples are important. Sanchi Stupa, everyone is aware, is in Madhya Pradesh. Is the most famous of Ashoka Stupa. And Sanchi Stupa is that stupa which you see in most textbooks, school textbooks also. You see the Sanchi Stupa. It's in Madhya Pradesh. And Piprava Stupa is in Uttar Pradesh. Is the oldest one. And Barhut Stupa is also it's one of the biggest stupa. Barhut Stupa. It's also in Madhya Pradesh. So these are all Rajagriha, Vaishali, Kapilavastu, etc. They all consist Kushinagara, Pippalivana. They all consist stupas and they are all very important. Stupa at Bairat, Rajasthan. Grand stupa with a circular mound and a circular embleam. So how Buddha was depicted is chakras. If you look at some of the pictures, you will understand. Buddha was represented through symbols like different events, footprints, lotus throne, etc. And Jatakas, Petakas are the stories by the Buddhist traditions. They are associated with the previous birth of Buddha, etc. And this will cover about Buddha in detail in Buddhism, so no need to cover so well here. So this is the Sarnath pillar, which we have seen, which is also the emblem of our country right now. This is the Sarnath pillar. And here you have the Lamas Rishi cave and Sanchi Stupa. Sanchi Stupa is very, very, very famous. This is the Sanchi Stupa. And this is the Lamas Rishi cave. See, we discussed about cave architecture, right? So a cave is dug out of a hill, and that is a Lomas Rishi cave, etc. These are the examples. So that is about arc and architecture of Mauryas. Now let us look at the administration. Okay, the Mauryan administration was a highly centralized. Okay, we have already seen the king is the source of all authority. He was the supreme power and all authority. He was assisted by a council called Mantri Parishad. The minister were called Mantri, everyone knows. And it was headed by Mantri Parishad Adhyaksha. Okay, it's a common knowledge. Tirthas, the highest category of officials are Tirthas, 18 Tirthas. So these things just go through now, and when you answer the question and answers, for example, they will ask how many tirthas are there, then 18 tirthas. So that is how you will remember them. While going through, just pause the page and go through. After you answer the questions, you will get a better idea. So tirthas and adhyakyas are next, ranked next to tirthas. So first there is tirthas, 18 tirthas, followed by 20 adhyakshas. And mahamatas are also other higher ranking officials, and amatyas are higher ranking officials, almost like present day secretaries. So you have tirthas, adhyakshas, mahamatas, and amatyas. So these things will be asked in the exam about the administration. So Arthashastra also mentioned about storehouses, ships, gold, agriculture, etc. Kautilya's Arthashastra, and we have also seen Mudra Rakshasa by Vishakadatta, Megasthenes Indica, etc., etc. The Puranas and the Buddhist texts, there are important sources. And you have other officers, Yuktas, Rajukas, okay, Sansthyadyaksha. So you can pause the page and look at these things. You have to read multiple times because there's nothing much to explain. So you have to read multiple times and try to remember them. And after answering the questions, you will understand which is important, which is not important. And see, Navadyaksha means ships. It is named there in the name also. So this is how the administration was carried on. So these things you have to just write it down and remember. Okay. So if you look at the local administration, smallest unit was the village. Okay, so you have the tirthas, adhyakshas, mahamatas, etc. And you have the provincial and when it comes to local, you have the village, and head of the village was Gramika. The Pradeshika was the provincial governor or the district magistrate. So like today's collector, or you can say Pradeshika. So Sthanika are tax collectors working under Pradeshikas. Durgapala was governor of forts, Antapala governor of frontiers, and you can remember these things. Lipigara, scribe. It's like you can read the name and make out, and you have to remember these things. Again, military, Senapati, common knowledge, everyone is aware. And his position was next to the emperor. He was appointed by the emperor. Okay, elephants were used. Elephant is one of the unique thing about India, Indian subcontinent, because elsewhere you only use foot soldiers, cavalry, etc. But in India, the elephant corps was very famous, and many of these foreign writers like Megasthenes or most of these people who have come, they have exclusively mentioned about our Indian elephants, that they are lofty as hills, black and very powerful. And most of these kings derived their power because of the elephants also. The army salary was paid in cash. And if you look at the revenue also, Samahartha revenue department, Sannidata was the treasurer, and revenue was collected on land, irrigation, shops, customs, etc., license fees. Most of the land revenue was 1/6 of the this is again very important. What is the land revenue? 1/6 of the produce. Okay, you have to remember that. So different dynasties, different tax. Like if you have the Marathas, you have the Chauth and Sardeshmukhi, which is 1/10 and 1/4. So you have the Mughal Empire, Delhi Sultanate, and in the ancient you have so many dynasties. So you have to read multiple times and remember all these things. How much tax is collected? How was the administration carried on, etc., etc. So police also. So all the main centers had police quarters. Jail was called Bandagara and lockup was known as Charaka, common knowledge. And there was a department of espionage, which was very important also. Okay, because you need spies to inform the king about what is happening. Is anyone doing corruption, or if is there going to be any revolt? So two types of spies: Sanstana and Sanchari. Okay, Sanstana means he's fixed at one place. Sanchari means he'll be wandering around, and it was controlled by Mahamatyapsara. So all these things you can get. And Vishakanyas is one thing you would have seen in old movies also. Especially Kautilya was very interested in poison. So these Vishakanyas, right from childhood, they are giving small doses of poison. So and they are usually very beautiful girls. So when they become, what happens is they are sent as agents to kill the enemy. So when the enemy tries to get with this poisonous girl Vishakanya, he dies because of the poison. So that is one interesting new concept in Mauryan Empire, the concept of Vishakanya. Keep in mind. Transport department, it was cattle, chariots, pedestrians, etc. Fine. These are frequently asked questions. So, just quick revision, you can say, of whatever we have studied till now. We have seen how it was established in. Wait, okay, see, it was established in 322 Maurya Empire by Chandragupta Maurya, and Dhanananda of the Nanda dynasty was the predecessor. We have seen Megasthenes sources, Megasthenes Indica, and he mentioned about absence of slavery, absence of money lending, and seven castes. Okay, Kautilya's Arthashastra, very important, and Hamachandra, Jain literature. Okay, so Chandragupta Maurya converted to Jainism, and the Jatakas, Pitakas, etc., the Buddhist literature, Buddhist texts of Deepavamsa, Mahavamsa, which you frequently asked in questions. Okay, and Ashoka's support to Buddhism is mentioned in that. Vishakadatta's Mudra Rakshasa, we've seen multiple times, it is very important. And the cave inscriptions, etc., the Barabar Hills. So all these are various sources, very important. Okay, if you can after reading the chapter, if you go through this map, you will be able to better understand. And if you look at the administration, we have already seen. Okay, villages means Gramika, village headmen, village groups, Stanikas, Gopas, and we've seen Pradeshikas, Rajukas, and we also seen many Mahamatyas, Amatyas, Tirthas, Adhyakshas, all those things you have to remember. And the four important provinces. So the southernmost is Dakshinapada. Okay, capital is Suvarnagiri, very important from exam point of view. And in the eastern side you have Kalinga. Okay, capital is Toshali, very important. Remember, and Avanti. Avanti is one important province which is in Ujjain, and Uttarapada capital Takshila, which is basically current today Afghanistan and that region, Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc. So these are the four provinces, and you have it is governed by Kumaras and Adiputras. Basically, mostly Kumaras means the princes, okay, and Adiputras means persons from Kshatriya clan. So these things you have to remember from exam point of view. So this is a brief of what we have read till now. Just whether it's visible or not, let's see. A very brief of all that we have seen. So 321, 322, around that period, Chandragupta Maurya, followed by Bindusara, Ashoka. We have seen Dasratha, and we have seen Samprati is the grandson of Ashoka. And Brihadratha was the last Mauryan ruler killed by Pushyamitra Sunga, followed by the Shunga dynasty. Okay. Next, Mauryan Empire broke up after 50 years after the death of Ashoka. So Ashoka was the last great emperor. He is considered the greatest. And after his death, around 50 years, the great Mauryan Empire was disintegrated. We have seen tax. Okay, taxes how Bagaduga, etc., etc. A tax called Pindakara was paid by those practicing animal husbandry. Okay, we also seen how the general tax was 1/10. And we see source of information. We have seen Arthashastra, and Prime Minister is basically the Kautilya, Indica, Megasthenes Indica, very important. And Ambassador Seleucus Nicator has sent Megasthenes, the Buddhist texts, etc., etc. So that is about the Mauryan Empire. So we have discussed about some of the important points in the Mauryan Empire. Okay, we have seen about the extent of the Mauryan Empire. We have seen about these pillars. Okay, the art and architecture, etc. We have seen about stupas. We have seen about the sources. Okay, Mudra Rakshasa, Deepa Vamsa, Buddhist texts, Megasthenes Indica, and we have also seen about the administration. We have seen about art and architecture, the court art, pillar art, etc., etc. So, from the exam point of view, these are very important. Now, after this, it is followed by the question and answer session. If you complete the whole question and answer section and this PDF, you will get a complete idea about the Maurya Empire. Okay, thank you.